Oh God.
Yeah, I know I need a haircut.
Oh my
You need to know
God,
before
you're
this.
like, oh God, no sleep.
I think I was going to get one on Tuesday afternoon or something.
You were there?
I think so. Yeah. I
My adjuster called. They're coming out. Donna's adjuster's out today. My adjuster's
Right.
out on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank God. Get my house back.
We're
good.
Okay,
Hold on,
Arbor,
let me
you
get-
are.
I'm gonna go live on mine. Hold on
All
a
right.
second.
Well, we're in the green room.
We are.
No, listen, there's a radio talk show host, sports talk in Cleveland by the name of Tony Rizzo. And his catchphrase is good to be alive. You know,
You know,
and listen, it's good to be alive.
welcome everybody to the green room. And Florida, as you can see in the back of us, is still shell
It's
shocked.
still not right. That's why we're a
It's-
little late. Ruta was stuck in the
Stuck in
line,
the-
literally of line
Line
trucks
and line trucks and here's a huge shout out. People I know
coming
are
from
tired.
Sarasota South on their way further
But I
south.
have to give a big shout out to the linemen. Honestly.
Well, we have so many things to talk about, and that's
Yeah,
the
they're
first place you
doing-
have to go.
Yeah, they did yeoman's work.
Absolutely. First off, condolences to those who have
who
lost
everything, lost lives, lost family.
lost
members.
lives,
Yeah,
lost
there's a
family
whole lot of
members.
people that are confirmed dead.
It is, and you know, really, I don't think there's any blame to be placed except to the extent of the capriciousness of this particular storm and the
Yes.
power of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we have to start out and say, listen, we're but specks on the world.
Yeah.
You know, the world is changing. You could talk global warming all you want, but what we know is when Mother Nature wants to take
She takes.
charge, she takes charge.
And I think the
you
problem
know?
is people are saying, why didn't more people evacuate, especially off the barrier islands, which there's usually mandatory evacuations. And I think, the storm, I think it initially, thank God, I'm so sorry for the people of Sanibel Island, Captiva, Pine Island, which no
Fort
longer
Myers
literally
Beach,
exists.
At Lecce,
Fort Myers,
those
yeah,
areas down
it's
there.
awful. And we were originally going to get it in Sarasota, but the storm was so huge. People somebody put it on a display where they had Charlie was
Fit
this
in the
big
eye.
compared to
Yeah.
Ian, which
And I didn't
literally
live
covered
it,
our
that's
skin.
why I defer to those who've been in Florida a hell of a lot longer than I
Longer.
have. I'm
And
just blizzard guy.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I've been
I remember the
guy,
blizzard of
yeah.
Columbus in
I've been
'73,
born
where I got to play
78,
cards with my
Boston.
fraternity brothers for 4 days straight. Because
But the thing is, a hurricane, I've been through, I've been here 23 years. I don't know how many hurricanes I've been through, a lot. But this by far was the most catastrophic thing I've ever witnessed.
So condolences to those that lost their lives and have lost everything. We have patients we know that have lost everything.
And they have PTSD now. And this is something we need to look at. I think following this hurricane, there's going to be a lot of people who are truly stressed out. One, I had friends that have never been through a hurricane before that just moved here from Ohio and other places. They were like, oh my God, I want to pack up my bags and move out. They're so nervous. They're so scared of what they saw. And the only thing is for the Florida market, which was booming, I have a feeling this is going to be a mass exodus out of Florida. People are terrified to lose everything.
There's so many issues on the insurance side,
Oh
the
God,
financial
the insurance
side,
side alone.
and building codes and what's going to be allowed back on the barrier islands.
If
And these are discussions for another time.
They are, but if you have to wonder, is it wise to build on any barrier island?
You have to admit to global warming
first, and then God forbid you have a catastrophic hurricane that levels everything to the ground.
But first responders and our linemen
first-
guys that have never been so
linemen
appreciated.
And the first responders.
But just the massive destruction that goes on. So I kind of call it the rule of 10 miles. And, I think here in Venice, we were on the northern edge of the eye wall and we had sustained 100-mile-an-hour winds, in my view, at least, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, who knows what they were, but for 7 straight hours.
Oh, it was non.
And the eye never got here. The surge, of course, was south.
Yeah.
But what I say, and in Northport, just a short way away
Northport.
from Venice here. So by
And
a
half
rule
our
of,
staff members live in Northport.
we do. So by a rule of 10 miles, we got knocked horribly here in Venice. We were out of power for 5 days. Some still are out. But if you go 10 miles south to Northport, there's more destruction. Don was saying that Price Road, one of the main avenues in Northport, no longer is that Price?
Is that Price?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that
the
is
bridge is
Price.
completely gone.
Wow. And of course, I-75 was literally closed,
Underwater.
underwater under the Mayaca. So 10 miles south. And then if you go 10 miles further south to Port Charlotte, even more destruction in the canals. That was the crazy thing about this one was the water surge in and out. So it was a couple days later, the water came back into the canals in Port Charlotte and all that. So our friends Jeff and Tara Dumont, I want to give them a shout out down in Port Charlotte. They're okay, but they suffered some pretty significant damage.
Our sister office down in Fort Myers.
Fort Myers.
They said Cape Coral bridges.
So that 10 miles south, then you go 10 miles further south, then you get down to Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel.
No longer exists. The pier doesn't
exist. And just to see those boats stacked up on each other
and on top of roofs. And the thing is, like,
and they're still going to find some people too, Ruta. I mean, we have to be honest about it. And to me, these are the traditional, and I don't want to, ever make any stereotype about anybody. But I think the people that stayed on the barrier islands had been through other hurricanes. They were comfortable with it, this, that, whatever. And even they got shocked by that particular storm surge. And you can't fight storm surge. That was the unique thing about this particular storm. It was surge, wind, and we got 21 inches of rain, everybody. 21 inches of rain on our house in Venice and Northport.
You know what's crazy? The rain. I don't know if you noticed, but like the rain, it was the most bizarre thing because on the pond behind us, it looked like a tundra. Like the wind was blowing. So it didn't. It was sheets, and it was almost like misty because the wind was blowing it so hard. And Donna just said, not even that long ago, 3 days ago, she was going up to try to find water from Northport. She was heading to Sarasota.
Still this morning, things are not right on the street.
There was a guy who literally put a hole in his roof, and he, his wife, and his dog were standing on top, waving down boats, and the boats couldn't even get to them yet. And she said this was off of I-75. She saw it,
and that's still going on in parts of Florida. We have a lot of patients that are inland, and there's towns that are cut off, So here's the point. Listen, what I loved about yesterday was the bipartisanship that I saw of our president and actually Governor DeSantis standing together to work for us and not to drag politics into this type of tragedy. But here's the point, and I do want to make this point, and I do want to make this point of the division still that exists in the country to the extent that, what do they call it? TFG, the former guy, is over on that east coast of Florida and can't even stand with the Republican governor of the state and the Democratic president in a show of unity for everybody. And that to me is a striking he demolished, that former guy demolished the convention of we're all in this together.
Well,
it just bugs me. And who won't call that out?
They should call it out. But the only other thing that somebody mentioned on, I think it was, I don't know, there was an interview with somebody, I think it was a first responder. He actually addressed the political side, and he said, and it's very true. When America has a crisis like in this, you're not asking your neighbor what political party you are. Everybody's an American, and everybody needs to be reminded of that when your neighbors
listen, the storm wasn't discriminatory. The storm didn't ask if you were Democratic, Republican, didn't know if you were black or white or Latino.
But if you're helping people, this is another thing. I don't know if anybody's listening. I put out a message today to Fort Myers, to our Dr. Ald. We have a free medical clinic. We did a post Irma free like a medical camp. We're looking to set up something down in Cape Coral, Sanibel, Naples, wherever it's needed. Absolutely. So if there's any physicians listening right now that are down in that area, way down.
No, I got a car. I got a truck.
So we're gonna try to do a same medical camp where we're going to come in, we're going to set up tents, cots, and we're going to triage and treat people that have no insurance or have insurance and just can't get to a doctor who need immediate medical care. We'll be bringing down free, we want to bring down suturing kits. We're going to bring down free meds. So anybody that's listening down there, if there's a critical area that you know of that needs a lot of attention, last time it was Immokalee, but if there's anybody down there in that area, please reach out to me through the green room or through my Facebook Live.
Well, listen, the ER doctor in me has absolutely been just completely survivor guilted over really not being involved in that side of the effort. And listen, fortunately, we were able to open yesterday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the street really still does not have full power,
No, the gas
adequate
station
power.
doesn't. I don't think one of our air
Right.
conditioning units.
For sure. And who knew that gas and ice, would be
And
like
milk.
gold and milk.
And milk.
And listen,
There's like no milk anywhere.
And I think there are some issues to talk about, just to the extent of living through this experience. As we've all continued to carry these in our pocket
Yeah, we
and
do have to
become
address
more
address
comfortable
that.
with them, we are soft. We have been,
go in total lock. We go down.
when
down.
your electricity's down and your connectivity
Your
is
towers are
down,
down.
everything is down. You don't have the access that we
No.
used to through the landline.
Yeah,
and
people panic because family.
Daddy wants to get a
Yeah.
landline now.
Oh, there were
Right.
more, longer. I think,
Longer.
than-
There's still
longer.
people out there. I was
Yeah.
total collapse. I was driving in this morning to listen to the radio. There's still people calling in to 107.9
To try to
saying
find
they
family
don't
members,
have electricity, internet, or phone yet. Okay, the big three.
No, and then
you
family
know.
members are still from the north and everywhere else calling and seeing if family members are even okay.
Right.
Because they haven't
Even
from-
texting.
Even
Ruta, you got my
Carly.
text 8 times.
I got the text, but no, but I also
Or you
got,
don't
but
forget
your
them.
daughter texted me too.
Right,
She's
just
"Have you
reaching
heard?"
out.
She's like, I
Right.
haven't heard from my dad. I said,
Right.
there's no towers there. I'm like, I'm like,
Well,
he's fine, but I'm like, just know there's no towers.
So I had the very unique experience of being able to experience the hurricane rage, literally from almost outside. And if you want to see some videos of what it looked like, look at it at my personal Facebook page. I had a Kevlar screen that comes down over 2 big cement. Anyway, I was safe. And the rage of Mother Nature was key. But I was able to post all the way up until about 2:15 when we lost power. And I have a very unique video of Bob Harrigan himself on the screen showing where we were,
yeah.
right in the window reflection while I'm videoing outside. I got to send it to him because I know he's going to enjoy it. But people wondered what happened to me after that point, because
Yeah,
I was
people shut
posting
off.
every hour,
Yeah,
and then all of a
that's
sudden,
what
where'd he
happened.
go?
Yeah.
And I want to say that, listen, I never physically felt threatened, but I was just in complete awe of what Mother Nature was throwing at us that day. We were just waiting for it to end,
Well,
and it just
it
wouldn't
would,
end.
and
It
we were
wouldn't end.
listening. We were in a,
And
our
the sounds,
house,
the
but
noises, the
noise,
creaks,
and
the
then, like,
cracks.
we heard like all of a sudden one big pop, and a nail came out of our pool cage. Just one nail. It bent like the cage, and then all of a sudden you hear, boo, boo, boo. The
Yeah.
whole cage literally, like the wind just took it and like literally shattered it. But then Nordine, my husband, was sleeping at one point, and I hear this thunk, 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 and I'm like, get up. And he's like, what's the matter? I'm like, something's hitting something somewhere. He goes into the breakfast room, opens the window, opens the screen, literally catches one of the bars from the lanai in his hand as it was coming into the window.
Yeah.
He like literally, otherwise our house would have blown because the pressure would have gone through into the house and lifted the roof up. I was like, oh my God.
It's interesting how you
It
talk
was
about the
crazy.
pressure, because there's things you don't appreciate it
Yeah,
until
the
you go through
pressure
it.
storms
You hear
are
about the
the-
locomotive sound. I think
Oh,
I
it is.
heard
It's
that
like
for
a
3
train.
straight
Oh,
hours.
it is. It's
and
like a train.
you do
a
feel
rolling
those
train.
pressure,
Yeah.
things, to that extent. Pixie was in the safe room for a good part of it.
Was she?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I
no.
felt just as safe outside because I could kind of see
Yeah,
what
I
was
wasn't-
coming
I
at
wasn't
me.
Into the lanai until the pool cage went.
Yeah,
Then
no,
after
I
that,
got
I'm
it.
done.
Yeah,
I'm
no, for sure.
like, I'm not
And
going out
listen,
anymore.
each and every one of us has their own
Story.
individual stories to tell.
Everybody does.
And many much worse off.
Oh God,
Okay,
no,
than
they
we.
lost everything. I mean, their
For
houses,
sure.
their businesses, their livelihood, everything.
So
I mean, it's
it's
terrible.
how does time fly? So because it's almost 10 tonight, we're gonna have patience. Listen, but so I want to give a shout out to a couple positive things that did come out. So the connectivity issues are I don't know what to do about it either. You need to get a landline at this point again,
I have a landline
right?
still.
Did it work throughout the
It
entire
did,
time?
it did. The landline.
Because most of
stayed.
those are buried lines and everything,
Yeah,
and they're
the
not really as
landline,
dependent on the
there
electric.
is.
On the
Yep,
electricity
they,
and all that.
but the landline, it does work even.
Right.
It did.
Who knew that the transistor radio, would be so
Yeah,
important?
Dr. Shreve had one on.
No, literally, that's what we were using for first
That's
3
awesome.
days, 3 to 4 days. I wanted to put the little earpiece in my ear and run it up through here like the world's. By the way, my Guardians are playing Tampa Bay.
Who cares right now?
Hold
People
on.
can walk
I
around
gotta
and
get
give
at
a
least,
crap.
I gotta get at least 30 seconds of levity in the sandbox because it is the Rays. My Guardians used to be the Indians, tomahawk chop and all that. Anyway, they're playing the Rays. Don, they put the games on at noon. Can you believe that? No respect for the Rays and the Indians. So it's Friday tomorrow at noon and Saturday. Anyway, so the other positive, so that was a lot of negatives, of course, but the connectivity was crazy. Yeah. Positives, meeting your neighbors, okay, learning once again how this country, learning once again how this country can be. It reminded me of post 9/11, okay, when we were all Americans, okay, where if you had some gas and you had extra gas or a generator,
we connected to our neighbor's generator, and actually another neighbor connected to another neighbor's generator. I mean, people are definitely sharing.
So if there's any good to come out of it, it's once again that feeling of, and I almost want to have a block party at the end of it, which I think
it was
it was.
That's what it felt like. I mean, because everybody, the day after, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I don't remember now. I think it was Thursday already when the winds kind of subsided.
Right.
You saw every single household outside, and everybody, one was walking like traumatized, and two, that all of a sudden cleanup started. Everybody's with rakes, dragging branches. It was like
helping each other, and that was cool.
It looks like people got ladders, and like there's an older gentleman, so people went and helped him after they finished their house. But everybody was pitching.
It was the concept of getting out from behind the house on your deck or lanai and actually going up back to the front
into the
and
street,
seeing what's going on. So
and everybody was talking about what happened. I mean,
so that was a positive. Everybody be kind to everybody else. Listen, it's dangerous out there still. Okay. If there's no street lights, there are four-way stops.
There were so many sirens going off the day after the storm because
don't go against the line and the gas line. Everybody, you're park over there and bring your cans up and cut in on people. I'm telling you, people are going to get shot. Somebody's going to get shot.
There does become that tribalism.
There is a tribalism.
Where people
so we got to keep the good here and that little speck of negative all the way down there. Listen, I want to also give a big shout out to a couple people. So Bart Hirschfield, one of our colleagues in medical cannabis world, as did Heather, a lot of damage down there. He's in Fort Myers. He lost his home and his office. Sent a letter to Dr. Ladapo with pictures.
Dr. Ladapo is the
Surgeon General of the state of Florida, and appealed to him, as many of us did. On Facebook, we sent our emails, other docs, patients, I'm sure, to bring telehealth back on an emergency basis. We did. We got it. It happened. So there was an emergency order put out yesterday by the Surgeon General. We have some great docs in the space. Dan Smith down in Cape Coral somehow saw it right away and alerted the other docs. So telehealth, very important to know, everybody, for 20 counties affected. So call your doctor's office to see, if it is. But believe me, it's all the ones you would imagine. It's Sarasota, it's Collier, it's Charlotte, it's Lee. It does go up to Hillsborough and all that too.
So it stretches 20. It goes out there. It goes to like 20 counties because you think the storm went across the state all the way through Jacksonville. So
DeSoto, I think. I don't have it in front of me. So my point. And it's just for recertification patients with the doctor that you already have been with. So to me, I thank the Surgeon General for that. If the governor had any impact, him as well. It is a compassionate statement about this essential medicine, and believe me, especially at this time. And we're going to be very proactive with our patient base to make sure that our patients continue to have access.
Absolutely.
And we will. It's essential medicine, and as Ruta was saying, we know there's going to be a certain amount of increased anxiety and absolute depression. Depression. About
people who lost everything.
People who lost everything, and listen, hopefully FEMA.
And there is hope. So people, please, I know like a lot of people still don't have connectivity, but FEMA, go to FEMA.gov. They're setting up
in Port Charlotte. The Port Charlotte Mall, actually, they have an insurance village between the Dillards and the I don't know, whatever I heard on the way down.
But there is
there is with FEMA there as well.
There is. And then for businesses that got hit, there's SBA.gov. The SBA and DEO of Florida, they're offering right now $50,000 loans and grants that are interest-free. And we heard through the grapevines that most of those are going to be generously donated to those companies. Governor DeSantis, shout out to him. He did allocate $50 million for this SBA program for the Florida hardest hit. So please go online, take advantage of that to try to rebuild your lives. So there are a lot of services.
Yeah.
Red Cross is helping tremendously as always.
And as you said, Ruta, listen, this is only the start of the efforts,
It
and
is.
whatever medical efforts
We're
going to
gonna
go on
start
down
with
in Lee.
medical down in
We're in a
Lee.
great location right here, of course, off the freeway,
We had a
for
shout out to Antoine's
drop
friends of
offs.
mine, Olivier and his wife. Yesterday, they drove down to Cape Coral, and then they went over towards the Sanibel area. They own a restaurant in Sarasota. They actually handed out 850 ham and
Awesome.
cheese sandwiches.
Right.
Shout out to Michael's on East. They were feeding the people that got hardest hit. They sent a truck from Michael's with hot food for
Bonefish
also
had
500.
Bonefish
So
had a
thank
table
you
for
all
linemen
of
last
them.
night,
Yeah,
free of
so-
charge
so
meals, all
thank
that.
you
So
for everybody
people
that's
are
pitching
stepping
in.
out,
They
and
are.
that and that's what we want to see.
And it is. And eventually we're gonna probably in the next screen room, I'll have some information for drop-offs for critical items that we're gonna take down for the medical.
That's the thing I was saying to Don. I mean, Northport is close, but I haven't even driven down there yet to see what's going on because I don't want to be a voyeur, so to speak, and just kind of wander down with
Well,
no purpose.
I'm gonna be going down just to assess where we're
I-
gonna set up.
I got it. I got it. My point is you need to have purpose. You need,
Yeah, you need to
but
have
there's going to
purpose,
be need. There's going to be need,
There will
not
be.
just tomorrow, but next
Mhm.
month. And I think as the
Mhm.
president himself said, this is going to be years long rebuilding.
Oh my God, this is the thing, like, people don't realize, when you have a whole, like.
It's like
Pine
before
Island-
Ian, after Ian type
I
of thing,
mean,
down here.
post-Ian, though, like post-Ian, you have to think, you have to rebuild bridges just to get back on Sanibel. It's gonna take years, like just to rebuild a bridge. And you don't build a bridge overnight. I mean, these are going back into the ocean, into canals, into the water, and to
Right.
rebuild bridges. I mean, you're talking years.
But they
and
actually were talking
years
about having a
and years.
temporary. They were talking about having a
What
temporary.
is it?
Then to make it better.
Oh, I
Then
know,
to make
then
it better. Well, that's-
even.
Well, listen, how can anybody not adopt build back better?
Yeah, Build Back
Okay, as
Better,
what
yeah.
just makes common sense. And that's why and listen, and even to talk about such trivial things like Herschel Walker continuing to lie. And no, I mean, seriously, this is a critical 5 weeks we have coming up too. And this is just added, okay, to the urgency of how government needs to work. And we as citizens got to figure it out somehow,
Well, you know, people were saying like, why don't we bury phone lines? And I actually was listening to a guy who's a lineman, and he works with FPL. They actually need to build more of the cement towers and lay them in. They said actually when you go underground, it's worse, because what happens is if with the flooding, it's harder for them to track where the cuts are.
Sure.
So they said it's actually much easier if the lines are up and they can see them. When they go underground, they said it's a lot harder for them to find. So people thought, oh, why don't you just bury the lines? In Florida, first thing, if you dig hard enough in Florida, you dig like 6 feet, you're in water anyway, because we just are so shallow here. But he said, he goes, and then corrosion, because he said no matter what it is, the salt still eats away.
It's time to use technology to its best and
Yeah,
be smart
so
and build back smarter. Let's put it that way,
and then
maybe.
somebody said, somebody did make the point of electric cars. What do you do
Right.
when you
sure,
have no power?
Right. Yeah.
So good point on that one. So for those who had the Teslas, you needed to, I don't know, do what, because there was no power, and you're talking hundreds of miles in this grid that we were on. So
Yeah,
that,
sure. Yeah.
so that was very difficult. And then somebody said solar was good, because obviously the solar panel still could provide some energy if you had your own units, and you could, kind of hook up to yourself via that. So there's a lot of things coming out of this, like anything, any storm or any tragedy, you have to evaluate. So I think the state of Florida does have a lot of things they need to evaluate now. And again, building on barrier islands, I think is going to be one of the biggest ones, because do you really want to do that again? And I mean,
Well, I don't think insurance companies are going to allow it
well,
again.
that's it. And this is something else that the government, the federal government and the state of Florida has to work hand in hand with. Our premiums, like I was watching CNN, and they were saying premiums in the United States average $1,500 a year in the United States. Florida average is $4,700 a year. It's triple the amount. And now they said with this storm, chances are everybody's gonna either leave or your premiums are even gonna go higher and higher, probably over $10,000 to insure your home, which is insanity. So this is something that has to be addressed. We live in a peninsula. I mean, we're surrounded by water. So I understand the insurance companies are in it for money. It's a money-making machine, but you know, what are we gonna do? And that's gonna be a big topic for the politicians coming.
And
up.
regulations are regulations. I mean, they're important, you know, and
But
you don't want to be
regulations-
over-regulated,
but
you
the
know,
thing is, even
but
with
you do need some degree of regulation.
But the
you know?
regulations, even like now, like say you build like, okay, code was, you know, Miami-Dade. Okay, well, this storm superseded Miami-Dade, you know, 140, it was 140-mile-hour winds in certain areas like Pine Island and that
Sure.
one place that got hit.
Right.
They had sustained winds of like, I think it was 143 or
And the
something like
surge,
that.
you know.
And the surge.
Yeah,
So
the
like, what are
surge.
you gonna do? And so you can make codes as best you can, build as strong as you can. But when you see like these buildings collapsing left and right, and you know, it's
Well, just the overhead
devastating.
images of Fort Myers
Oh,
Beach
Fort
and
Myers
just
Beach.
landscapes change.
They
you
do,
know?
and like the piers, like people like piers. So what you're gonna rebuild, of course, you're gonna rebuild a pier
Right.
because people still will take the chance that okay, maybe the next storm won't be for 25 years, but you
Right.
know, it is what it is.
It's going to be less than 25
It's gonna be
years.
less. I think it's gonna be more frequent.
It's
than
just the warming of the
ever. It
waters,
is the
you know, no
warming
matter
of
what the
water.
cause, you know, it just is. And listen, fortunately, if you want to talk Mother Nature, fortunately, it's been reasonable down here since the storm.
It has,
No, I
it's been
mean, it's
dry,
been
and
dry.
no
The
rain,
evenings have been 65,
beautiful
70. It's been right.
which assisted first responders. And
No doubt.
here's the other thing, you know.
And the fish smell, I guess, Don. So you guys
Oh,
have
I
that
had
at
fish
all?
smell.
Right.
Oh, it's so bad.
So they're calling that a pungent odor. Okay.
Oh,
No,
it's
I'm teasing.
really-
That would be a
No,
true pungent
but,
odor.
like, even didn't your lake surge? So
Yeah.
our lake surge,
Yeah,
when it went
there were
down,
fish.
we
Yeah.
had like this, yes, 2 days ago, our landscaping guy came, he's like, oh my God, the stench. Because all that crap that's in the pond came
Yeah.
way up, like
Yep.
feet up.
Right.
And then it's there, it's
We had a foot every
stinks.
15 minutes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Almost
Oh,
to
it
our
did. You
doors,
could see
yeah.
it go. It
Yeah.
was like do.
Yeah.
It went up almost like we were 2 feet short of it hitting our
Yeah,
pool
same.
already. We were like, oh my God.
Our
And we
pool
are on,
was one.
well, yeah, and ours goes at like an angle. So it was like right.
Yeah,
to
nobody wanted the
here.
infinity pool that day.
No, I
Yeah,
did
you
not
didn't put
want
it,
the
did not put it in the
infinity pool.
order.
I was like panicking. It was crazy.
So with each passing day, everybody, things get a little bit more normal. We want to give a shout out to everybody down south and
Actually,
everywhere.
this
Yep.
is one, okay, so the only positive we have in Florida for living down here and by the Everglades are the airboats. Without those airboats,
yeah.
people would have been, thank God we have so many airboats in Florida, because I was thinking, I'm like, other places that don't have those airboats, it's crazy.
Shout out to Mike Halligan. Halligan Designs. He actually made the Boston news. He was going around. He picked up 600 people.
600 people.
In his group of airboats.
And
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. And the Cajun Warriors, the
Yes.
guys that came from Louisiana, they're called Cajun Warriors, and they go to disasters. They're all
Right.
former either first responders or ex-military.
There's kids
They
from
come with their
Nebraska
own
sweeping the
kids
streets.
and they
Yeah,
come
it is
So,
pretty incredible.
Yeah. And
So a
I-
big shout out to
big
everybody
shout
himself.
out to all the people that came from other states and, you know, are here for the long run, because this is a long haul. It's not a cleanup of a day or two. It's going to be weeks, months, and years. So
Yeah,
just hang in there, Floridians.
for sure. And listen, like I was saying, every day is a little bit more normal. So, you know, we want to give a shout out to everybody that's still really, really, really suffering. We're going to be here consistently every day, taking care of our patients. Next week, we'll be back in the green room and we'll give further update as to what's going on. And, you know, everybody stay safe, stay kind, stay patient with everybody. And we'll all get through this and we'll see you on the other
And
side.
also for those that whine or complain, if you lost power, please, you know, keep it to yourself, because there's people that literally lost their homes. So if you're without
There's
power, and you
there's
have a roof
various
over your
degrees. And as
head,
we said, everybody's
please.
got their own
They
story. and-
do, but you know,
know,
put it in
be
perspective of
kind.
losing everything you have. So, I mean, if you have a roof over your head and you have your family with you, be grateful and know that there's people that don't have what you have right now. So
Pass positivity
please,
forward.
yeah,
Keep negativity
yeah,
to
keep
yourself.
negativity by yourself.